So welcome everyone. This is Glenda Dawson, your host for January, for the Cosmic Conversations in the Conscious Awakening Network. I just want to thank you for all being here, whether you're present live or you're watching this later. And I just want to say thank you because you had then have registered in the website and you are willing to receive the emails that go out not only about this program, but about all the other activities uh, that we have, including, classes and programs every other weekend or every weekend. I'm not even sure anymore. We have so many things going on that is so much enlightenment and healing going on that I am grateful that you decided to sign up and get those emails. Now, tonight we have Reginald Trent Braggs from the One Podcast, and he's going to tell us all about himself and what his vision is and what he stands for. So, hi, welcome. How you doing,
Hey,
Reggie?
thank you so much. I'm doing
Good,
great, Glenda. Thank you so
good.
much for having me. Thank you to
Thank
everyone
you.
that's in attendance and as well as all the listeners. I'm truly privileged and blessed to have everyone here.
So, tell us about yourself and what the One brand stands for and what you do with it and how you got here, basically.
Yeah, yeah, that's a long story. I know we talked a little bit about a little preface before we started, and then I know we talked quite a bit in the Dragon's Den with you last
Mhm.
month, I believe, about my story. But to give everyone a little bit about my story is I was born in a military family in California, and then I've lived all over the states, I feel like. I mean, I've lived in Texas, South Carolina, Florida, Rhode Island, New York, Virginia. I'm probably missing some places. I've spent nearly 10 years in the Middle East, lived a few months in uh, Africa, and I've been nearly 10 years in Mexico. So for me, I've got a very broad perspective when it comes to understanding people, both from a macro sense and a micro sense, I feel. And for me, one of the things for me, because I've had that exposure, is I really just love people, and a lot of people will see me truly as an introvert, and maybe in some ways I am, but I do know that I love the general idea of people, because I really see us as all one. I really, truly do. And that's why we call ourselves, one brand, the one podcast. And we often say we are one, all the time. It's one of our slogans that we use, and it's just been because I've traveled and I've seen that everybody laughs, everybody cries, everybody pretty much wants the same things, and as we talked and discussed earlier, it's not all about materialism, us understanding that that's not what makes us happy. And just to touch on what we talked about earlier with one brand, our luxury fashion brand that's 100% organic, we give 50% of every transaction to charity, and not just any charity, it's your charity of choice. So it's with that understanding, that experience that I've had, that the money really isn't really anything. It's really a tool. It's not something to obsess over. We don't. It's not about how much profit we truly make, as much as we're measuring how much are we giving away. That those are the metrics that we really want to tune into. So we felt it was such a awesome and exciting thing when we were able to connect the charity option to each person's individual charity of their choice, by connecting it basically to their heartstrings. So for us, with that, that was an exciting thing with one brand. We're officially launching in 2027. We've done some soft launches leading up, which have sold out on each of the last couple drops. But our main drop is going to be sometime in 2027. Right now, we're bringing in members, and our first members will have access to the brand. Some are beginning to pre-order right now, but the first ones will really officially have access in January of
Mhm.
2027. um, Going into the one podcast, that is something that just randomly started. We never, myself and Ebru, my partner Ebru, my fiance, business partner, as we mentioned before, we met on 11/11, conveniently, and that's a whole aspect of our brand, is the is how it started. It was with, people that see the serial numbers, the
Mhm.
111, 222, 1111, these numbers. So we really wanted to make a brand that kind of spoke to those people. And recently we just went through an awakening experience, so we're now in 2026. We would say last year, but now that we're in 2026, it was in 2024. I was watching the Sean Ryan episode where he had, and I had never heard of Sean Ryan before. I just randomly saw Sean Ryan and saw Joe McMoneagle. I don't know what drew me into this episode, but it was the first employee of the CIA Project Stargate, which is the astral projection out of body program that the CIA declassified called Stargate, where they were training people to go out of their body and to go on missions. And I remember in school, I was very blessed to not even have to go to school like other kids. I was in a program that was either for the, really smart kids that could graduate early or the really bad kids that just didn't fit into the class. And I was a mix of both. So I was in that program, and it worked really well for me because I could spend so much time either going to work or just doing unique things like trying to go out of my body. So during that time, I was hearing about like how you can pull a silver cord, just visualizing you'll come out of your body. I had been trying that stuff and it never worked, so I just thought it was fake. And seeing now the CIA employees, Joe McMoneagle, talk about it, I said, "Oh my gosh, this thing is real." So that just took me down a rabbit hole. It was a 6-hour interview, matter of fact, that Sean Ryan had with Joe McMoneagle, and I spent 2, 3 days watching it in different pockets of time that I could find, and it was just incredible. It was illuminating. And so right after that, I went through the rabbit hole of finding Lori Williams, which she, has a teaching on the CIA's same program on how to remote view. So I took her course. I was very successful in being able to remote view. And that led me to see like, okay, this stuff is very much more real. And then it just started sending me into more stuff. I started hearing about channelers and born Christian. I've been raised Christian my whole life pretty much as a child, experiencing all sorts of different churches by moving. And that was one of the things that you're really told to stay away from is anybody channeling. I mean, that you're dealing with the devil. There is no questions about it. That's what it is. So I started listening to channelers and I'm like, man, these channelers kind of know what they're talking about. And then they're literally talking about peace. They're talking about love, unity. So it was just like, this just does not sound and nor does it feel like the devil at all. My interpretation of what the devil
Right.
is or who, whatever, but it was just an extraordinary thing to go down. So now I'm dealing with channelers. Now channelers are channeling extraterrestrials. And now it's like I always felt like we were never alone. So
Mhm.
here we are, extraterrestrials talking to us like it's on speed dial, through
Mhm.
channelers. And I'm just like, something is up now, so that really led me through
The
down the
rabbit
rabbit
hole.
hole and just yeah, a heavy sense of because I used to always be those people that would believe like, okay, I believe that there's stuff out there. My dad had even mentioned he had seen a UFO before,
Mhm.
and my mom as well. And so I had never discounted that reality at all. I never really felt like we were alone, even though Christianity kind of teaches that you kind of are alone, that,
Right.
God made the whole world, we're the center of everything. And so I would believe we'd be rolling with people when they were talking about this, but in the moment they started talking about reptilians and these things, I'm just like, okay, now it's the time for us to diverge, go into our separate paths because it was like that stuff just, I couldn't believe that that stuff was true. And then sure enough, to see that there's all these species and races of ETs, it's been flooring. And then, like I said, the out of body explorers, we've had a number on our podcast, and what they're telling us the earth actually looks like, the firmament that exists that we do hear about in the Bible and other cultures. It's I mean, it's led me down a rabbit hole, but maybe a rat hole too, because I'm hearing about how people are, poisoning our water, poisoning our food, doing a number of different things that's very much BS. And my energy, as we talked about, Glenda, I'm a Sagittarius fire sign. I'm a life path number one, so I'm it within the energy of kicking down the door.
Mhm.
as you guys know, we talked about previously, our family was sent into the Middle East when every family was sent out. I really don't do well with fear. Everybody was scared to come into the Middle East when our family did. Uh, I'm in Mexico. Everybody was scared to come here to Mexico. So I'm really just looking for doors to kick in. And I don't really don't tolerate the idea now because I had heard stuff like this, the chemtrails and things of that nature, things made to pollute our air, pollute our food, but it was always more of just like the conspiracy theory. But now we've got well over 100 government whistleblowers telling us that yes, the government has secret space programs. The government has been dealing with, extraterrestrials. We have extraterrestrials on bases, military bases, and it's just something that I've not been able to be comfortable with. And kind of arriving here recently, going through this awakening, it's kind of had me in the sense of like, we don't need to be, this is not something we should be comfortable with. This is not something we should just be saying, oh yeah, they're poisoning our water. Yeah, they're poisoning our air. No, it's like, whose door do we need to kick in right now to get this situation fixed? And that's kind of like the energy that I've been into right now. And again, we just got here. One podcast is 3 months, but we just hit over 1,000+ subscribers. We've got monetized. So, we're seeing that a lot of people are resonating with us. And as I mentioned a little earlier, with one of the things that I know is really changing the world is our one meditation. And a large part of that is because, as I mentioned, a large predominant amount of our subscribers are out of body explorers or people who are interested in the out of body theme. So many of these people have seen through their own eyes, and this is one of the reasons why we heavily focus on the out of body exploration is because it's time out of trying to believe what anybody says. It's time out on trying to hear what this person says, that person says, what I say. We all have our perspectives, but it's time to lift up our own individual voices, understand our own divinity, our own power, and what it is that we see, what is our experience. And this is why it's important for us to help people go out of body. In fact, our number one video right now is with this out of body explorer named Brandon Suarez, and he had never gone out of his body. He had actually started following us on Instagram on our one brand, and his first message he sent to us was saying he had never gone out of his body. He wants to go out of his body, and then we created the podcast later. He started subscribing to our podcast. Same thing. He's saying he's never been out of his body, and we told him you're going to go out of your body soon. So he started saying how our content helped him to begin to remember. And that's what we're really about, bringing divine remembrance. And
Mhm.
sure enough, he messaged us. He said we were the first that he messaged that he went out of his body. So within within the fifth day, he said he went out of his body. By day 5, we set up an interview. We dropped everything to get him on the podcast because we wanted
Mhm.
it fresh. And we
Yes.
felt like it was great to have somebody who was so fresh with going out of their body, especially for somebody who never thought they'd be able to go out of their body, not somebody who'd been fasting for 40 years or, not drinking water, that type of thing. We wanted somebody who everybody could connect to that feels like they're just like me or you, or maybe you are somebody who's a vegetarian and you feel like you might have a higher level of vibration, but Brandon is just a regular person. As you'll hear in the episode, he eats Philly cheesesteaks, he says, Arizona iced tea. He says he does everything wrong, but he's mastered on how to go out of the body. And in fact, my partner, my fiance, who's also the co-host of the One Podcast, she had never gone out of her body. I have been out of my body. And that exact same episode that we hosted, Brandon Suarez, she went out of her body that exact same night. So as soon as we ended the episode with him, that night she went out of her body. So this episode specific has been our number one episode. It's been very resonant with a lot of our viewers. And this is what for us is just extremely important is that a person can go out of their body at their own will and figure out what is the truth, because when you're out
Mhm.
of the body, you can really go into any time zone, timeline. I mean, what are we talking about right now? The fact that I'm saying you want to go to the 1600s, you can go to the 1600s. You want to go, into the future, see what the future is holding, you can do that. The fact that I'm even saying this out of my mouth right now is kind of crazy for me because again, I just went through awakening not too long ago. But this is for us. It's so important. We talk about a number of other topics as well, and it's really just about everyone being able to operate out of their best self. And for us, it's just an expressive platform for us that came from one brand. our
Mhm.
fashion line, just to be able to, one brand is expressing to people. One of the things that we all know is that we are divine source energy. So one brand is saying that you are God, you are
Mhm.
not small, that we were all one, that we're all one unified diversity. And again, that's still in the works. And we just felt the need to express, with more fury, with more speed, faster. So now having the one podcast allows us to, bring on people that we find interesting, that our curiosity leads us to, and be able to ask these, questions and get perspectives. And that's what we're big fans of, is listening to different perspectives. And with being a former US diplomat, that's one of the things I've always been raised as an independent. So I've never been polarized by being a Republican, Democrat. It's always been about taking the information, So I was on a podcast the other day. I told somebody, if there's somebody outside doing drugs and they say, hey, I saw a guy, I'm gonna be listening to that person. Like, what is the intel? So I'm always just about getting that insight into every detail, and really, like I said, the out of body exploration for me has been one of the key things that I feel that just it can really illuminate a person. Even being able to channel, the fact that we can channel our higher self.
Mhm.
We know that
Mhm.
our soul, that power, that divine sense of self, that we're not without the truth, we're not without the information, that we can access these things. We don't necessarily need anybody else. That it's great to have others in this space, and utilize each other, because we do need one another at the same time. That's the whole purpose of this whole thing. But it's just a beautiful expression. So, that's a little bit about me. As I said, Glenda, my mom calls me motor mouth. So, be careful asking me a question. Am
That's okay. That's okay. Saves me from speaking. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's the episode, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll just sit here, drink my coffee,
Yeah, exactly.
look pretty. Anyway, no.
Yeah.
So now you were talking about, you could do this by yourself. You could learn how to do this by yourself. We all born with the gifts. We are
Yeah.
all born with this. It's just a matter of when we actually open them up, if we had trauma and we close them up, and when we are willing to deal with that trauma to remove that negative energy or those blockages, to then be able to blossom like the lotus flower, right? The lotus flower
Yeah.
comes in beautiful layer by layer by layers.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about it's good to be able to do it as a group, of course, because the unified energy helps each and every one in the group raise
Mm-hmm.
their vibrations. And by raising your vibrations and your frequency, you're able to then go into many different levels, not just, out of body, but you could go, like you said, backwards, forwards, different dimensions, quantum field in general, to where, what we call the matrix,
Mm-hmm.
for lack of wording, because human beings have to give wording to everything in order for us to understand it,
Yeah.
even though everything is basically frequency and
Mm-hmm.
energy and all that. So when we had been talking about that you and your fiance are far away, and physically you're definitely opposite sides of the world, basically. But, I am sure that there are times where you actually meet in the quantum field, in the
Yeah.
ether, and feel each other's, because that's how you're connected. You're not really connected physically.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course, but you're not connected. That's why you're lasting so long. You're not connected just in the physical sense. You're
Mm-hmm.
connected in the spiritual sense, and that takes you to a different level of energy. And that's why you are still very much in touch with her and very much caring about her. And you could probably tell when she's having a bad day, even if even before she communicates to you,
Yeah.
and
You're right.
and vice versa, because you're both in a different level. And that's, the thing with people forget that we're one. We
Mm-hmm.
are all made from this thing, this
Yeah.
puzzle that's all put together. And then we
Yeah.
have little pieces. And then we
Mm-hmm.
just got to find ourselves back to the little piece that we belong in, the little section that we belong in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. And I
Yeah,
just actually woke up from a nap, and she was in my dream, Ebro
there you
is
go.
her name. So, to
Yeah,
add to that fact, I completely agree.
exactly. So that is why you were able to take it from there. and go and take it to another level. And like you said, you had a dream about her. She was probably thinking about you at the exact same time
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
your day is probably her nighttime and vice versa.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, um, now this one brand that you're starting, you said that it's all natural fibers and that you're giving 50% of the profits to every transaction
Yeah.
to
Every
the charity.
transaction. Yeah.
So what is the partner again that you guys signed up with for the charity?
Yeah, the partner is Change, at getchange.io. You can find them, and they're official charity partner with the National Basketball Association, NBA, and a number of other big names as well. But that was one of, me being somebody who's always been into sports, basketball, football, that was a big thing that stuck out to me, that was that they were managing the NBA. And I love them as well because for me, I'm all about oversight, and I don't want
Hmm.
to get caught up with somebody, registering their charity and it's funding terrorism or something that just is not in alignment with who we are as a brand. So to know that Change is actually the one that is actually managing these and vetting these charities
Hmm.
on their platform. Again, 1.3 million charities and nonprofits that people can choose from. It's that would be impossible for us to be able to manage that. And
Hmm.
the fact that Change is able to do it's exciting because now it's just like a person can, I mean, you can just think about whatever it is that you can think about that you want to
Right.
support, whether it's butterflies, the air, the ocean, animals, people. There is no limits, when you have a database of over 1.3 million charities and nonprofits.
Very good. So now let's get back to your awakening moment. How did that occur to you? How did that manifest to you? Because
Yeah.
we each have our own little story, so it may resonate with somebody else that doesn't really know what they're going through, but
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and the funny thing is how I mentioned being raised Christian.
Mhm.
When I was raised Christian, I actually experienced so many different churches, and so I was never really touched by God during my time in the States. It wouldn't be
Mhm.
until I went to the Middle East, for that private diplomacy tour with my
Mhm.
family, and that brought me into that space of being broken and really being able to experience God or the Holy Ghost, Kundalini, whatever feeling they want to call. I experienced a real feeling when I was on my knees in just heavy prayer, going through the process of this breakup, this very toxic relationship for me. So I had been raised up in so many different states, so many different cities, experiencing churches, and my parents were even a part of the ministry. And it was just always this, you know, church's biggest thing is like you can go to hell. So everybody's going to church a lot of times because they don't want to go to hell. That's the biggest
Right.
thing. So
Right.
I'm literally seeing every single church basically having, it's not congruent across churches as you're traveling. You're seeing, well,
Right.
this church says it's okay to have a glass of wine. This church says you shouldn't even bring alcohol in the house. You're going to go to hell if any piece of alcohol comes in the mouth, So,
Right.
this church says women can't wear pants. I'm watching this church have a woman right now speak to us in pants,
Right.
this church says no jewelry. This church, the pastor got all sorts of jewelry on, bling bling, and church looks like the pastor looks like a rapper, you know. So it's just a number of different things that I was just seeing that already was just like, as a child, you're just kind of
Right.
like looking like this, what's going on, mommy? What's going on, daddy? Why? Kids always ask these questions. So
Right.
um, for me, I had not really been touched at all, but I had seen other people be touched. So I never discounted that God was real and all these different things.
Mhm.
And then when I went to the Middle East and experienced that heartbreak, and my mom just said, "Go in here, worship." Then I felt something come over my body. So at that moment, I was touched, and I could feel like, okay, there is something beyond this physical veil, and
Mhm.
that changed me. So I was basically a very hardcore Christian, except for I was my own type of Christian. I never followed anybody. It was just like, I would be, at Trader Vic's at the Ritz Carlton, with my big Bible. It was like a big Bible with all sorts of translations, four translations in one. I'd have a tall draft beer and a Samoan fog cutter, another cocktail, sitting there, and people are looking at me like I'm crazy. I haven't smoked cannabis in a long time, but I would also be smoking cannabis, when I'm in California, outside in the yard, reading the word of God, trying to break things down. So I've always just been exploratory, but being myself.
Right.
So going through this awakening process, it just kind of shattered everything, when you have that expression of just seeing religion in a whole different lens.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, we just had a recent guest who basically was saying, you know, religions or cults. And I was just like, boom, that kind of shattered something as well. And I went online and I asked ChatGPT, what are the signs of a cult? And I mean, every single thing checked with religion. It was like, does everything resonate to one person? Does this happen? Does that happen? I'm just like, wow, check, 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 when it comes to that. So it was another thing that shook me, as well, just recently, in terms of seeing that. But my awakening went through that Joe McMoneagle rabbit hole. And then one of the things that I did next was I felt I had always wanted to, I mean, since I was a teenager, to do ayahuasca.
Mm-hmm.
And I had always thought I had to go to South America to do it. And literally, while I was just sitting watching YouTube video, I heard one person say how ayahuasca transformed them. I just said, you know what? I'm in Mexico. Let me just see if Mexico has a place that I can do ayahuasca. And sure enough, walking distance from here, I could just walk to the location and have this ayahuasca experience. So I went to go do the ayahuasca. I signed myself up for it. And it was funny, the ayahuasca was like a 2 day, 12-hour thing, and it actually finished on the 7th. It was 7/7 when it finished. So
Wow.
they recommended that you fasted a light little fast, leading up
Yeah.
to it. I think like three
Mm-hmm.
to 5 days, start taking light foods. But because I had done a 40-day fast in the Middle East, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do a hardcore fast leading up to this ayahuasca experience because I just want everything that there is for me to get in this experience. So
Right.
I did a 40-day fast, but on the 30th day was when I had my ayahuasca experience. So
Mm-hmm.
and leading up to that experience, the last 7 days of that 30 days leading up to it, I did
Uh-huh.
just pure air. So I took no water, no food,
Wow.
no juice, just going off of air. And I
Wow.
had done it 3 days before. I had never done 7 days. So man, I just remember by that fifth day when you're like seeing the finish line, my skin looked like it had just been sucked, like there was no water in it. Like it looked like the wrinkles in my fingers were just like I'd been in the water in the
Mm-hmm.
bathtub for a long time. It was crazy. But the very first thing I had when I broke my fast was like some electrolytes in the morning, some water, and it was burning like my throat because my throat had been closed up. So it was like
Mm-hmm.
cracking, crackling type of feeling. But that evening at 7 p.m. was when I had the ayahuasca ceremony from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And man, it was just something that just changed me completely. I mean, it was just amazing experience. I was just gone. I felt really connected almost to like a extraterrestrial type of connection thing. It's hard to really explain because it's almost like you were saying, Glenda, it's beyond words. And
Mm-hmm.
after that experience, I did the Holy Nino Santo mushrooms. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
mushroom ceremony that they have. It wasn't like the very next day, it was like a month or so later.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I did another ceremony that they call the God molecule, which is Bufo, DMT. And
Mm-hmm.
man, that one right there,
Mm-hmm.
whew, 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 that one sent me out of the stratosphere. And that's the one, I can understand why they call it the God molecule because it's like, wow, I am God. There's no confusion, there's no doubt for me in this experience. I am that all that there is, and you can
Mm-hmm.
feel so connected to people. And even when people were doing the ayahuasca and the ceremony that I was in, I was already aware that we are all one. But so many people were saying the same thing. They were like, my experience was when I was seeing somebody over there, I was them. Like they're asking the maestro, the head of the ceremony. They
Mm-hmm.
were like,
Mm-hmm.
how was I that person? When I was over here, but I could feel all of this person's emotions. I could feel all of this person's feelings. So um, that was something that really just kicked over the can for me when it came to just going to a whole nother level of awakening and a whole nother level of this experience. So again, maybe 6, 7, 8 months later, after that, we would be starting the one podcast. And I mean, it's been history ever since, with just us to start that podcast, we actually were doing, I don't know if your audience has heard, but there's the 369 method, which is like a manifestation method. I believe Nikola Tesla talks about it.
Hmm.
But you write things down 3 times, in the morning, 6 times in the afternoon, 9 times. So in the
Hmm.
midst of doing that for 30 days, just this overwhelming sensation to start a podcast came up on me. And it really just came from, I want to talk to these out of body explorers. It was just these four specific explorers that I wanted to talk to because I was focused on going out of my body more now.
Hmm.
And all the four of them said yes. And then it was just like, wow, okay, now we got a podcast. Now we need to find more people to talk to. And I had a list of other people I wanted to talk to, and everybody's been saying yes. It's been very positive, and it's just taken off from there. From our very first video that we posted, everybody was saying, "Oh, this is a breath of fresh air. This is amazing." So we were like, "Okay, this is a good sign," and
Hmm.
it's been incredible, honestly. So that's a little bit of the awakening journey, and
Hmm.
I'm motor mouth. I can keep going, Glenda. So
All right. You go for it. Because what it is for me, everybody's experience may be different, but
Yeah,
we do have some similarities, and it could help someone who isn't quite aware what they're going through. They could be thinking to themselves, I'm going crazy. This is my mind. What is my mind doing? And, because that's they boxed us in. That's the pre-programming, right?
yeah, yep,
The- And so you literally have to let go of that pre-programming and just, surrender to what's coming.
yeah,
And
and
you'll find things get a lot easier.
mm-hmm,
Really do,
mm-hmm.
because things just fall into place when you're on the right track.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Hmm.
um,
That was something that Ebru, as you mentioned, that you know, when I was going through these ceremonies, my
mhm,
my partner, I'll show you guys too the photo.
yeah.
This is her right
Hey,
here.
very proud of her, guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Very proud
So,
of
when I was going through this stuff, she was very much like you're crazy. She's this grounded to earth Capricorn from Denmark. There's no
Mhm.
crime there. She doesn't want to cross the street unless it's a crosswalk sign. If I don't see a car, let's go. I'm that type of mentality. So she's in the past, she's been very just straight and narrow. So when she's seeing me do fasting, she had never, heard of anybody fasting. She had been raised Muslim, in an Islamic family. So she had seen of the fasting, but with their fasting, a lot of times it's they may eat in the morning. They're just not eating when the sun's out, and then wait,
Right,
during Ramadan.
right.
So and she had never been someone who her family wasn't very strict religious, but she had been around it. So when she was seeing me do my fasting, she's seeing me like go to the gym, running, wondering like how I have all this energy. She's seeing me do these ceremonies, these plant teachers and these plant ceremonies, and she's just thinking like I'm just crazy, like and I'm playing her audio of like, people that are going there, women
Mhm.
screaming, and she's just like, oh my gosh, turn that off. Why would you want this? Like why would somebody want an experience where they're going to be crying, where they're going to be screaming? And I'm just like, I don't know, you got to try it, And so, it was one of those things, like you just said, Glenda, everybody has their perspective and their own thought process. So
Right.
she had her experience with these plant teachers. And I told her before, I said, once you have this experience, you're going to want everybody to try it. And sure
Mhm.
enough, she's like, everybody needs this. And I'm just like, I'm the type of person where I don't think everything is for everybody.
Right,
So I
right.
believe it's available, but you really got to be the right type of person. You just got to be led by your own heart. This is why we really,
It's
yeah,
got to be recognized, and it's got to
yeah,
really resonate with you.
yeah, exactly,
When it's got to pull you when you need to really be there. So,
exactly, yeah,
that kind of
yeah,
thing. So,
yeah, yeah,
but yeah, no, everything is available to everyone. It's just not resonating with everyone.
exactly,
And
yep,
that's okay. That's
yeah,
okay.
completely
That
okay.
makes our individual journeys and our individual assignments, as I would like to say it, our own. So we
Yeah,
can actually learn and evolve.
yeah.
So now, were these shamans or are these just
Is there some
ordinary?
guy I met? No, no, it was a shaman.
want to make sure you were, because
Yeah.
I'm like, what else did they include in that?
Yeah, exactly. Some PCP, you know.
Yeah,
No.
no. Just because you said you just said 2 blocks from here. I'm like, oh.
I know. That's what I was. Yeah, I was very shocked it was so close. It probably was about a half a mile, but it was walking distance, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Or
yeah, I live
shamans in
downtown.
Mexico. In Mexico, they're all over because it is part of their spirituality.
It is very much
So
so.
yeah, so
Yeah.
you
And
know,
these shamans are actually from Peru, you know.
right.
So they're actually Mexican shamans that have trained in Peru.
True.
So a lot of times
Hmm.
they bring their Peru teachers as well into
Right,
Mexico, you know, to do other ceremonies as well.
right. Yes, I learned from a Peruvian shaman also, but I can't bring them into the U.S. right now.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a little harder to get here than it is
yeah.
to
It
go
is.
from South America to South America.
Yeah,
So,
you're right. You're right. Yeah.
um, so what else can you tell us? Because you've had a lot of experiences in the awakening part of it and all that. How did you feel about your life pre-awakening? Let's just say that. How do you feel about what occurred to you, what didn't occur to you? Now,
Yeah, I feel in my life I was always seen as just somebody who was very optimistic, you know, always happy. I was always having a very positive outlook, you know, on things.
mm-hmm,
I would always call myself a realist with an optimistic outlook. So I was
mm-hmm,
never somebody who just um saw things from a negative standpoint, you know. It was
mm-hmm,
always just you know, my dad would always tell me the thing that his mom told him, which was your attitude depends upon your success, you know. So it was just
mm-hmm,
like if you know you want to be, you know, successful, have a positive attitude. And that was something that always stuck with me, resonated with me. And now understanding now how our thoughts create reality, that even makes much more sense of when we talk
right,
about living in love, living in gratitude,
mm-hmm,
thankfulness, it's so important to be in these positions. So I've always loved life. I've always been one of those people who just love life. And like I said, being able to move around all around the states, I've always been those people that just loved everybody. You know, when I
mm-hmm.
was in seventh grade, I believe, I was the only black kid, you know, in the school in Rhode Island, you know. So
Rhode Island, yeah,
yeah,
well,
you know, so I feel completely home right now with everybody, you know. So it's one of those things where um you know I've never felt I was different, you know. I
right,
always
right,
felt, you know, love. So anytime when I've heard there be tension between races, it's always been like, you know, people that are white, even right now, people that are
mm-hmm,
Mexican, you know, I've heard so many people have you know, certain feelings towards people that are Mexican.
mm-hmm.
I'm in Mexico, and the Mexican people are just absolutely beautiful people, as all people are beautiful
Yeah,
people, you
all
know. So
people,
to me, humanity is just beautiful, you know, in
mm-hmm,
itself. You know, you always have certain people, but a lot of times they may be having a bad day, they may be having a bad upbringing, bad experiences that have led to their things. But you know, so black people have the exact same thing, you know. So it's like
mm-hmm.
it's not a race thing at all, you know. But you can see how things have been set up in such a way. In fact, when I was in jail, I was in jail. Can you believe it? People are like, you went in jail? Yeah, I was in jail for felony assault. I was in there for 5 days because again, I don't deal well with fear. So I had
Mm-hmm.
this guy during my broke time going through divorce. He was a gangbanger, and he was trying not to pay me, you know. So I had him, you know, come out to some park. I was trying to get it on camera as well because I knew he was going to try to take advantage of me, and I
Right.
wanted the evidence. So this guy, you know, tried to get aggressive with me, you know, not paying me. And he didn't know I have training. I have, you know, CQB training, close quarter battle, CQC, close quarter, you know, combat. I'm
Mm-hmm.
certified in executive protection, celebrity protection, a number of different protections. So I basically whipped his ass, it was covered in his blood. You know, they had to take my clothes and impound it, you know, for evidence. So I ended up being put into like jail, you know, the holding tank in like a paper bag outfit. Everybody thought I was in there for murder, you know. So it was a crazy experience. But I was just when I was in jail those 5 days, because eventually, again, I got out and was doing security, so
Right.
I don't have the felony on my record, but
Right.
um, it was kind of thrown out based on like self-defense. But when I was in jail, I was in like the worst section because again, felony assault, and I was just amazed at like how the jail was so segregated. It was like you have the whites, the blacks, the Asians, the Mexicans. Nobody can use each other's showers. Nobody can sit at each other's
Wow.
tables. And it was like you couldn't even cross in front of another race's tables. And I was just like wanting to like get up, and on a table and like start like, do you guys see this programming? They want us to be separated, but it's like you see the same thing on the outside that there's all these different things that keep us separated, whether it's,
Hmm.
wealth that keeps us separated, the rich versus the poor, the haves and the have-nots, races, borders, all these different things that you just feel are nonsense. And that's why we really can't emphasize enough that we are all one, that we are one, even though we're all unique. We like to
Hmm.
say we are one unified diversity, but we
Hmm.
really got to start viewing ourselves as one, one holistic group of people.
Very good. Very good. Um, let's open up for any questions or comments. Anyone here has any? Okay, Susie. I'll unmute. Yeah,
Soulful Susie.
unmute, Susie. There
You
you
are
go.
muted. You are muted, and I am muted. And
Uh,
wow,
Synchronicity.
Reggie, I have so much connection with you. This is amazing. 58 years ago, I got my first degree in fashion design, and we have
Wow.
been trying to make. That means I'm really older than you think. I don't have a gray hair, but I'll be
Yeah.
75 next week.
Oh my, wouldn't have guessed
Yeah,
that.
but I'm doing
Wow.
great. But
Yeah, see.
somebody came through and we were taking leaves, soaking them in wait a minute, I'll tell you in a minute when I remember. And it would make them pliable so we could put them into cloth and have the leaves part of the garment. And then
Wow.
she stole my ideas and money and left. But
Mm.
I'm serious, there is some amazing stuff to do. I've modeled for 57 years so far. I happen to be really tall.
Wow.
And but you just, I mean, everything you mentioned, I want you to talk about your clothing line or whatever it is you're doing. I probably have another 18 questions, but focus on that right now, if you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. The fashion line, it's nothing to me that's really elaborate in the sense of taking leaves and soaking them with the technology that you're talking about. But we've had a number of different people tell us about different types of technology, such as mycocillibin, using the mushrooms as technology. But the thing that we're focused on is the consciousness aspect. So we want everything to be living. That's why we make sure it's 100% organic
Yeah.
fabrics, textures, all those different things. We don't want anything that's synthetic, that's harmful to the body. And more things are being discovered too on how harmful clothing is, these things that we put on our body, which I didn't know until I got into this space. I would have thought any shirt was comfortable, anything that we're putting on our body, but as we're finding out, a lot of things are very harmful. So that for us was very much a no-no for us, and as much as we do love things like silk, we don't want to end the life of a silkworm, for us to actually, just wear a shirt. So
mhm,
those are some of the things that are very important for us is as much as the fashion is, making sure that we're taking care of the planet, being responsible with the planet. And that
mhm,
includes our packaging, so looking for, we do have a sustainable packaging partner right now, and their name is Echo and Close. We just recently partnered with them, and they're all about sustainable packaging from end to end. So those are big things that are very important for us. And like we said, us really changing the world. We really believe our brand is changing the world with what we're initiating in, where 50% goes to the charity of everybody's choice, and what we're also emanating too is letting people have that divine remembrance. When somebody's shirt or sweater says "You are God" or 1111, it's going to cause other people around to say, "What does that mean?"
mhm,
And really, you're awakening and reminding the world around you well as yourself, as well as taking care of yourself when you're wearing one brand. So it's just a number of these different factors that we wanted to step into. And really, with the giving 50% of each transaction to the charity of each person's choice, that's something that we didn't want to be something that we just do, and this is one of the reasons why we're in the luxury space, because we really want to put that responsibility on these other big businesses, that are in this space already, and
Mhm.
allowing people to see that, you can make an impact, through what you wear, and allowing these big businesses and all businesses really to step in this space and say, wow, this is really working for them. Let's implement it ourselves. So with the giving back, that's not something at all that we want to just see. This is what we do. We want to know that this is what the new earth is doing, when it comes to responsibility, taking care of the world, and really just being who we are, and I just feel like it's such an exciting thing to just know that you're making a difference, with every transaction that you're making. So just to think that, imagine you're at the grocery store, 50% of your groceries are going to impact the charity of your choice, so
Yeah.
that's something that really just has us a lot of, really excited.
Yeah. I want to mention one other thing. Reggie, you are so cool, really and truly. By
Thank
the way,
you.
your last name is Braggs.
Yeah.
Do you know Paul Bragg?
Is that the guy with the apple cider
Bra
vinegar?
Bragaminos, Bragg apple cider
Okay.
vinegar.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to where I used to work for him, and
Oh
he
my gosh.
died. He died swimming in Waikiki Beach at 102 years old.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we got a lot
Super
in common.
synchronicities.
Yeah, but I was going to talk about your Christianity. I wasn't really Christian. I mean, just in fact that everybody in America is kind of quote born that way. But I had a teacher who happened to have been John the Beloved on a in a previous life, and
Mm,
his outtake on the scriptures were so different. I mean, he would
wow.
say, "Oh, Yeshua," he didn't even call him Jesus. He said, "Yeshua
Hmm.
is not this little milk toast lamb you think he is." I mean, he trained us. And then when I was getting I have a double doctorate, one in divinity, and one of my professors said, "Put the Bible down for 8 years." And I had read it 8 times, which was pretty
Wow.
curious. And then he said, and every place where there's a miracle or something that's not, like angels or the axe lifting off the water, he said,
Hmm.
just imagine that it's an extraterrestrial. And when I did
Wow.
that and read it again, everything. And then somebody handed me Zachariah Sitchin stuff. So, yeah, there's so much. I'd say AC, not not AD, but after Christianity,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because and the Theoba prophecies, a book I just got, it says religion is the third thing that is keeping us from consciousness on the planet right now.
Wow. I
Number
can
one
believe
is
it.
our money and we want stuff, and I forget number two, but this religious thing, it's not little, it's big. We
Yeah.
are trained, and you said it right. I had to do a study. What's the difference between a whole bunch of disciples and a cult? And
Yeah.
I studied it. It's whether they're serving out of love or fear. Because I was
Powerful.
in a group that served out of love. The guy died, and then everybody got afraid, and it became a cult. So
Wow.
it's our love or our fear. And we can be in a group that's totally conscious. And to us, it would be a cult if we're serving out of fear. So get rid of the fear. I love you, Reggie. I think you're
Powerful. I
so
love you too.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You're
know.
awesome too. Soulful Susie. Yeah. There's a connection there.
Yes, there is. I'll get with you, I promise.
Yeah. Please.
Okay. hmm
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Anyone else have a question or a comment for Reginald? No,
Reginaldo.
Reynaldo.
Mhm. Yeah, I know
So,
I dropped a lot of stuff. They're like, man, this guy went to jail. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
but that's your reality, right? That's how
Yeah.
you got to where you are now. Everybody's got to go through things,
Yeah.
and you're just um, relating that and taking accountability for the time that occurred and what you did. Not that some people should stuff it in the closet and then all of a sudden it burst open and they look like a fool because everybody goes through things.
Yeah. And
Everybody goes through things.
yeah, and like I said, Glenda, I've never liked bullies,
Right.
and when I used to travel as a kid, it was like every school I would go to, I would be the new kid that
Mm-hmm.
everybody wanted to try. Everybody wanted to, and I was just never raised to allow myself to be bullied.
Yeah.
A lot of self-love. My mom would have me in the mirror, saying I am smart, I am
Hmm.
beautiful, like every as a kid brushing our teeth, we would have to read
Right,
this stuff every morning.
right,
So a lot of just self-love being poured into ourselves. So it was just like the moment someone had an issue, and I never like to see other people being bullied.
right,
So it was just one of those things. So I've had a history and experiences with getting into fights, but I was never looking to like just ever bully somebody or ever pick on somebody or bully somebody, but I would never be shy about standing up for myself, or
right,
standing up for somebody
right.
else. So that's
I hear
probably
you. I hear you. Well, I was in sixth grade and I broke the fingers of an eighth grader because he was bullying me and my brother. And I was
oh
like,
my.
yeah, no. And I am not as tall as Susie. I'm less than 5 feet tall.
Yeah, that's the dragon in you. You're the dragon,
The
Glenda.
little dragon in me said,
Yeah.
and they got suspended, by the way. And they got in trouble. They got suspended. And I just got, you shouldn't do that. Okay, I won't.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
But
I thought of what the you soak the leaves in glycerin for a week or two, and then you can sew them right into the cloth. So try that because I don't have time anymore.
Okay, yeah.
But I
So
will
you,
model them for you, Reggie.
yeah, thank you, Susie. I appreciate that. So leaves
I
and
love it.
glycerin, that's some great information. Thank you.
Yeah, it is awesome.
oh
Okay,
my
love you.
goodness.
Somebody.
I love you too. I
Anyone else have any comments or
think Richard,
questions?
I see Richard had a
Uh,
finger.
Richard, do you want to ask?
Say, Reggie,
How's it going, Richard?
you're pretty good. Hey, I've been kind of concerned that if I leave my body, it won't let me come back.
Yeah, you know what? That's so many people's concern. And what we're hearing and also seeing is that there's a cord that you're attached to that you will automatically come back. And one of the things that will allow you to come back is the moment you think about your body, you'll come back to your body. And it because you're basically moving at the speed of a thought, and this is one of the reasons why people like monks and other Buddhists and other religions and groups that train within the meditation, they train on that focus because it's very important to be focused once you're out of your body because you can move that quick on what you put your mind on. So that has honestly been, Richard, one of the top concerns. In fact, it was one of Ebru's concerns as well that kept her out of from going out of her body because if you
Yeah.
have fear, those are some of the things that will limit you from going out of your body is that fear, and I've experienced it for a while. My biggest thing was I never wanted to see like a being. I didn't want to come out my body and be like, oh no, like, oh shit, who's this? And then try to fall back in my body. So that one is a fair fear as well because I hear that a lot from a lot of people. But I really wouldn't concern yourself with that one. And what they say is once you go out
Well,
of your body, you're in control. And once you get out of your body, state your control, state your will. So if you demand yourself to still be around the house, that's what most people do. Most people are staying locally around their room. They might go outside. They're not necessarily going to the moon right away. They're not necessarily going to these different deep places. So that helps a lot of people, begin to digest the fact that, oh my God, I am out of my body right now. And what I love to hear too is just the physicality of it all. That's one of the things that let people know it's not dreamy at all. It's you are physically out of your body in a very real way. You feel the ground, you feel the thing, you may feel things that you can touch. And that was Abru's concern as well. So I can completely understand.
well, I was just actually kind of kidding. I'd have to have somewhere I get 2 beers to come back.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's amazing you can still eat and drink out of your body. I hear so many people go out of their body and they're eating and they're drinking and they all talk about just how everything is a higher level of experience, for them, like the flavors of everything, the colors of everything. So,
Are you out there watching somewhere going, look at that guy over there eating my dinner? You know?
yeah, yeah. I've gone out of my body a couple of times. I haven't been able to successfully train myself. We have people that are able to go out of their body at will. But that is something that I'm looking forward to do is to go. I told my dad, I said, hey dad, I'm gonna be going out of my body. If they say sometimes you might see like a trail of smoke So if you see that, and my dad was like, "Look, dude, don't show up to me going out of your body." He's like, I'm not gonna be sitting there looking at you. I'm gonna be gone." So,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
Yes.
Well,
Reggie,
I would just,
somebody told me once, one of my professors, if you leave your body, they said, can you leave your body at will? And I said, yes, because I can, but I have to have a safe place to be, to go to. And you've got to have hearts that love you, people that love you, places that
Mhm.
love you.
Mhm.
And once I get a place to go that loves me, then I can leave my body. But yeah, it's got to be very careful. You've got to have a safe place to be.
Yeah,
Well,
that's great information.
you are a safe place, Susie. That's why I was there for you.
Yeah, yeah. Are you guys familiar with Tom Campbell?
Mm,
Because Tom Campbell is with the Monroe Institute, and they basically showed how almost at a science level how to go out of your body,
mhm,
and Robert Monroe started this, but Tom Campbell was one of Robert Monroe's first basically students, you can almost say. And
mhm,
Tom Campbell talks about when he goes out of his body, he goes to a place called Tom's Park, and it's a safe space, like you just said, Susie,
mhm,
to go to.
I have a very good friend that
mhm,
went out of his body and he went to the side, the other side of the moon, and they could see him. And he almost got trapped there because the aliens on the other side. I mean, he went there thinking, they couldn't see him, but they could. And he almost
Yeah.
he almost got in some trouble.
I could believe that. I've heard some stories. Like I've not heard everything being all peachy hunky dory, with
No.
going out of the body.
I mean, there's places you should not go because
mhm.
Yeah.
there's the higher beings. You're not going to sneak up on those guys.
No,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's all about maintaining the safe space. First, you practice locally, very locally, and then
hmm
you slowly go outward. You don't start from 0 to 200 in one time. You start right there in your own, you're in your bedroom, you visit your wife, Richard, in the kitchen. And you say, boo, just to scare her. See if she knocks you over the head with a dish or something. It's easier a heavy duty coffee pot. Anyway,
Yeah.
just but seriously, you start locally and you stay there until you feel comfortable to slowly branch out. Just like
Well,
anything. Just like
I'm a lot
anything.
like him. I've been everywhere and lived all over, and I like people. I'd probably be the kind that scoot off too far right away.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, myself included.
Yeah.
So it happens. It could happen, but your higher self will bring you back right away. So whenever there's trouble, it will bring you back right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyone else?
Yeah, great questions.
Yeah. Yes. Great questions.
Yeah, you
Okay.
got a great community here.
I always do. Always do. It's great. Everyone who shows up now and shows up later, watches this later, is fantastic.
Yeah.
No questions, no comments. Wow, this is incredible. Everybody's still in the jail part. No, joking.
I know everybody's in shock.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah.
So, what else do you see for your future, or what are your goals, plans? What do you see happening?
Really, right now we're in the process of getting ready to move back to Los Angeles to be near our manufacturer. But
Hmm.
for, everything with me is all about impact, So when I first met Ebru, I told her I was married, and I told her I was married to my work. And, just I'm here. I'm here for a reason. I even
Hmm.
told her that I'm not from here. This is before going through this awakening. I just knew that I'm just not normal in a lot of ways, but for me, it's all about impact. And I feel like
Hmm.
if it's all about impact, it's all about purpose. And if there's no purpose, for me, it's like, what's the point?
Right.
So I just have to know that I'm doing something, impactful. So right now it's one brand, it's the one podcast, which the one podcast basically came out of nowhere. So we're letting that kind of just go with the flow. But
Hmm.
the one brand, we've been building that for over 10 plus years.
Hmm.
So it's been time putting that in development. So getting that infrastructure set up with one brand,
Mm-hmm.
what'll happen post one brand, that's exciting for me as well. But you know, before I went to the Middle East, I had in my mind I wanted to get into you know, I hate to call it politics because it just has a bad taste now, but you know, I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be a congressman and going to through the senator path because I was just so it was so impressive to me that man, I can actually get into office and make a change. And it
Mm-hmm.
was one of those things where it was just like I'll get paid to bring impact, you know. So it was, that was just to me as a young, because I went to the Middle East as a 19-year-old,
Right.
and I got into banking, you know, with the world's largest credit union, Navy Federal, at that same age, 19, and then I became a bank manager at the age of 21. So I've had a lot of experience very young, you know, as a
Mm-hmm.
command head, you know, having admirals and captains as my peers, you know, being command head meetings at a very, very young age. And again, we were in the Middle East for nearly 10 years. And so it's just been a number of different things. But even back then, you know, it was bringing a lot of impact, you know, because we were the only, in fact, we expanded the bank operations from the Middle East to Africa. So that's why I was able to live in Africa for a few months because I was expanding the territory and the presence of Navy Federal Credit Union to have banking operations there in Africa. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's gotta be some stuff for me. But when I was there, that's when I started seeing like, okay, you know, this military thing, this idea of Congress and working in the government, it's not as what I thought it would be. I thought it was like very honorable, very, you know, clean type of thing. And then you just realize, okay, it's kind of like a lot of games. I've got to scratch somebody's back, you know, for them to, you know, vote on what it is that I want to get done. But I've always been the type of person I don't like to complain about stuff. I like to fix it. I like to bring solutions. So that's one of the
Right.
reasons why getting into politics, you know, as being a congressman, a senator, you know, that excited me because it was like I can take care of my county or the area or territory that I
Mm-hmm.
represent. There's no more need to complain about it. Just get it done, you know.
Right.
So,
Right.
and that's a big theme of the military is get her done. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very big believer of just doing those things that need to be done, and so for me, it's all about impact. It really is
Mm-hmm.
impact and purpose.
Can
Okay.
you model that garment that at the back of the behind you?
Oh yeah, I can. Let me see.
I was kind of curious to see what it looked like and what the material was and all that.
Yeah. This right
Yeah.
here, let me put the headset back on. This right here is one of our timeless collection pieces. So it's 1111,
Yeah.
100% cotton, and it's a part of our one brand. So we have different parts of the timeless collection. These are people who see these numbers. So we have 1111, 111, and it all has says one on the top, and there's another one that just says the number one. And again, this is just part of our timeless collection that we have coming out. So this one is a very big popular one that we have. This specific collection. Some people just like the one where it just says one, and then we also have one where there's no numbers and it's just the
Mm-hmm.
word one across, but the letters are just straight, going straight across vertically. This one
Is it
they kind of arc.
all cotton?
Yeah, 100% organic.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you very
Mm-hmm.
much for that.
Where would I get one?
Right now we have our you know what? I don't know if I have our website in there, but I'll put that in the chat. But our website is exactly onebrandclothing.com, and that's
What?
where we have everything at. Right now everything is closed, but we are planning on we actually have our website developer working on it right now to integrate it into our um, let me put it right here in the chat, integrate it into our YouTube website, because now that we just got monetized, we can now integrate our store into our YouTube channel. So we're going to be integrating our you know Shopify store into the YouTube channel. So again, the only thing that we'll have available right now is the ability to have memberships, but the soon later in the year we plan on having pre-orders available, and January around that time frame is when we plan on actually having the store officially open.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Richard. Great questions.
All right. Anyone else? Anything else that you want to add, Reggie?
I feel like,
Okay.
man, I've said so much, but yeah.
I hardly had to talk, so that's okay. They
Yeah.
didn't come to hear me, they came to hear the guests.
Yeah, really great community you have though.
So if that's it, guys, check him out, watch his podcast, and thank you, Reggie. It was great. And to everyone, as always, I love you all. Stay
Yeah, we
safe,
love you.
be blessed, and smile if you can. Smile if you
Yeah.
can't even, also.
Yeah.
There you go. Susie got it right.
Big
All
hug,
right.
big hug
Big
to
Yeah, big
everyone.
hug.
hugs to you guys. We love you
Yeah.
guys.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Reggie.
Thank
Thank you
you.
guys.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Glenda.
much. Thank you,
Bye.
Glenda.